Thank you very much, everyone, for participating in this evening's banquet. We are here to honor the people that have spent their life of 50 years or more in the animation industry. We have our hats off to you that created industry so that we can be employed. This is our second annual 50-year banquet that we're having. We hope to have many more, so please, one of the things that we always request from our members that are here, that it's not an oversight intentionally, but please let us know who we should honor. Those that we know of names, we do send the forms out. We are requesting, please, return them to the union office so that we can also honor you with our others. Now, one thing about this evening is that as far as the regular speeches go, there is no speeching. We are not to say words. The first thing I would like to do, though, is introduce the head table here. I will start first with my wife, Phyllis Hester. Mary and Stu Lebicki, who are the attorneys for the union. And you all know Karen Storr, the president of Local 839. And the master of ceremonies tonight is going to be Mr. Wilson and his wife, May. Sorry. But as far as like when we also, as we did last time, you know, I was thinking about what to say in the sense of that when you get up here and says, well, is everyone happy? Those that are back in my generation probably knows who said that. And then I say, well, golly, it seems like everything we have a tendency to want to say, someone else has already quoted it. You say, well, just say, God bless. Well, you know, that's another one that someone has quoted. Now, you know, in case you don't know, the first one was Kay Kaiser. The second one was Red Skelton. Now, you old people remember those names. But now, yeah, along with me. But really, it's tonight we are to meet each other. You know, we've been in an industry for so many years, and we never really had the opportunity to get together. You know, and it used to always be that when we would go to someone's funeral service, we would always look around and say, well, golly, look at the talent here. You know, if a bomb were to go off, animation would disappear. Well, obviously, tonight you can say that for sure, that if a bomb went off, this is animation, what we have here tonight. And we do want to honor everyone here, like I say, for the industry that you have given us. I would like to, first of all, introduce the Master of Ceremonies tonight. And actually, I have to tell you the truth is that I put a little roll of TP. I hate to say this. And in case you don't know what TP is, ask your neighbor, please. In a bag, and I was going to bring it here, and I was going to ask him if he would please do one thing for me. Tell me if it is really Charmin. So the thing is, though, that he also told me that he actually started in our industry, too. I guess he wasn't too successful at Disney's. I don't know, you'll have to ask him if he was, but he was actually a Disney employee, too. Not with voiceovering, but with animation in itself. So with great deal of pleasure and honor, I would like to introduce Dick Wilson.
Thank you very much. I was an inker at Disney's. I was there for about 3 weeks, and they called me another name. It wasn't inker. It was close. And I had a boss. I've forgotten his name, and thank God for getting old. He didn't like me, and I wasn't particularly fond of him. And there's nothing he wouldn't do for me, so there's nothing I wouldn't do for him, and that's the way it was. He did nothing for me, I did nothing for him. And that lasted a full 3 weeks. And imagine if I'd have stuck to that job, I'd have been getting one of these awards tonight. But you remember me, I'm known in every toilet in America. Not too many living rooms. I am so thrilled tonight. Two of my dear friends are here. A young lady that I haven't seen in a long time, Catherine Victor. So nice to see you, Catherine. And one of my dear friends, and I'm so happy to say it, and one of the great names in our business. I knew both his father, his mother, himself, his sister. I knew the whole family. Alan Hale Jr. You remember the skipper? Hey, Skip. Now, when you're talking about nice people, you got to start with him. You know, a lot of people have said to me, Dick, how did you get the job, you know, being Mr. Whipple? I was the co-producer of a show in Las Vegas. I was working for Shirley MacLaine. I'm dropping a few names, you know, it helps. And my agent called, and I thought that was rather strange because I had him listed with missing persons. He said, Dick, how do you feel about toilet paper? At 9 o'clock in the morning, I'll agree to anything. You know, I said, fine. I think everybody should use it, especially if they're coming to my house. He said, no, how would you like to do a commercial for toilet paper? I said, what do they pay, paper or money? He said, they want you tomorrow for an audition. I said, hold it, pal, hold it. How do you audition toilet paper? He said, it's a screen test. I said, that's worse, that's a permanent record. He said, will you go down and see them tomorrow? I went down to see them the following day. We shot the test, flew it into New York that night, and the following Monday we did our first Charmin commercial. Are you ready? In Flushing, Long Island. Huh? I came to Hollywood in 1932. I did my first picture with Jane Withers. You remember her? Josephine the plumber? Huh? Isn't it funny? All the great work that this gal did, and that's what she's remembered for, being a plumber. Look at me. When I was a kid, we couldn't afford toilet paper. Now I got a whole garage full. Not only that, isn't it funny? I did a drunk on Bewitched. You remember Bewitched? I was the recurring drunk. People say to me, how did you learn to be a drunk? I had two brothers in Canada. They read a sign. It said, drink Canada dry, and they tried. That's how I used to. You know, somebody said to me, I know you're groaning. It might be the food. Who knows? This fellow said, how long have you been in show business? I said, a long time. He said, were you like before Pearl Harbor? I said, before Pearl White. I heard some of you laughing, so somebody knows what I'm talking about. Isn't that marvelous? See, I made a list of things that I have to say, because when you get to be my age, two things happen to you. The first one is you lose your memory, and I forget what the second one is. So, but isn't that, listen, we're coming out with a new toilet paper. Yeah, it's designed for the Navy. It's 4 inches wider. It allows for the sway of the ship. There's an old Navy man over there. Huh? Isn't that all? Listen, I do a lot of traveling. I was in Atlanta, Georgia. 4 weeks ago in Atlanta, Georgia, I went to the bathroom. You know, even I go, you know. Oh, yes. I'm sitting there doing my crossword puzzle. I look up, and there's two hands on the door. Pretty soon a face says, are you really Mr. Whipple? I said, yes, I thought it was a telegram or something. I said, yes, I am. He said, what are you doing here? I said, guess. That's all. That's as far as I go with that. But I do a lot of traveling. You know, the funny thing about it is I was the first person ever to do a commercial with glasses. You remember? Everybody used to be Mr. America. They did a commercial. Remember Papermate pen? Guy looked marvelous. Bum couldn't even write. You know. I was the first one to do it with glasses, with a mustache, and balding. A fella in Detroit said to me, Dick, he said, I'd like to introduce you now to the audience. He said, ladies and gentlemen, this is the man that issued in the era of the uglies. I didn't think I was that bad, you know. But anyway, here I am. But I don't think I'm bald. I really don't. I just think most people are hairy. See, God made very few perfect heads. The ones that he loused up, he covered with hair. Right? Right. Or there's a little poem, you know, it says, God is good, God is fair. To some he gave brains, the others hair. See, that's the only way I can fight back. You know, I'm too old to punch anymore. Oh, I'm doing so well up here. You know, people have said to me, you know, they comment about my nose. Now, I don't think my nose is that big. I just think most of you have been deprived. You see. Now, for instance, you have to breathe all day, right? I fill mine up once in the morning, once in the afternoon. Good for the rest of the day. Isn't that awful? Oh, the hell with it, I'll go with. Listen, I do a lot of traveling, spend a lot of time in hotels. Do you want to have a good time in a hotel? Not that. You know when you walk into your room, you go into the bathroom, they have a piece of paper over the toilet seat that said, this seat is sanitized. Don't rip it off, slide it off. When you're finished, slide it back on. Slide it off, slide it on. The second day, your maid will say, ha! Third day, she won't come near you. The fourth day, the entire cleaning staff is down the hall betting on the explosion. Listen, the other night, I dreamt that I was sitting right next to God. And God sneezed, and I didn't know what to say. I don't explain him, you know. No, I just tell him. You know something, it irritates me. We're coming into tax time. Isn't that awful? Oh, I know I had to say it. Listen, as an actor, we have to fill out a tax form. It's called estimated tax. How much does an actor know he's going to make? He's no idea, you know. So I put down $2.5 million, didn't sign it, sent it in. They want me to guess how much I'm going to make? Let them guess who sent it. Isn't that awful? Here we go. Oh, listen, the other day, this drunk is walking down the street. A woman is coming towards him. She's got a duck under her arm. The drunk, he says, where did you get the pig? She says, for your information, it is not a pig, it's a duck. He said, I was talking to the duck. Isn't that all? Listen, a friend of mine married a midget. He died. And I happened to the funeral. So they had him laid out upstairs. A fella knocked on the door. He says, I'd like to see Michael. And she says, oh, thank you very much for coming. She says, I know he was small of stature, but he was a giant around this house. He's left me well provided for with the insurance, little bit in the bank, some stocks and some bonds. Oh, did you want to see him? He's upstairs, the second door on the right. She says, when you come down, for heaven's sake, close the door. The cat dragged him downstairs twice yesterday. That ought to louse up your dinner. Listen, see, after a joke, a friend of mine gave me a joke to read, and I've got to read it for you. Now, I haven't seen it before until just now, so we're going to hear it together. Lady Godiva was riding down the street, side saddle. And half of the people were saying, hooray for our side. All right, back to my own stuff. Listen, you know Billy Barty? Now, there's a great man. Billy, I have, sorry to say, he was thrown out of a nudist colony the other day. Had his nose in everybody's business. It just can't stay away. Listen, do you know how to stop someone from snoring? I had a roommate one time, snored so bad. Finally, I went to the landlady and I said, excuse me, could I borrow one of your negligees? Now, she was kind of nervous about us two guys living together, you know. Now she was sure, right? Mm-hmm. So I put the negligee on. Before I went to bed, I gave him a big kiss right on the lips, and I said, good night, honey. The rest of the night, he sat up in bed, just staring at me like this. First night's sleep I had in 2 months. Keep that in mind. It's all right. Listen, if you keep your eyes and your ears open, you'll learn something every day. I bet none of you ever realized that the lead dog in an Eskimo team is the only one that gets a change of scenery. Say, you never thought, listen, do you know why they tie babies' navels in the hospital? If they didn't tie them, they go all over the room. They lost 2 last week. Somebody left the window open. Right over the freeway. Mm-hmm. You know, it says, I'm reading an article today in the paper, it says 1 out of every 3 people in America has some sort of mental disorder. Look beside you. Try the other side. If it's not them, it's you. Eh? Listen, I have a friend of mine. It's the worst luck of anybody. Worst luck. He lived in a town that was very poor. The whole town was poor. One day the tide went out, never came back. This fella had bad kidneys. He had a kidney transplant. His luck, he got it from a bedwetter. 2 drunks are at the bar. One said to the other one, he says, pardon me, but did you have an accident in your trousers? The other one said, yes, I did. He said, well, why don't you go home and change? He said, I'm not finished yet. My mother-in-law was, this will be over soon, so I won't hold you too long. My mother-in-law was a wonderful gal. She was she took her cooking religiously. With her, it was either a sacrifice or a burnt offering. I'll tell you how bad she was. We lived 12 miles from an Indian reservation. Every Tuesday night, 2 truckloads of Indians would come to our house just to dip their arrows in her gravy. Listen, little old lady met her husband at the door. He just came from the doctor. She said, what did the doctor say? He said, no sex. He says, at my age, 84, it could kill me. She says, okay. You sleep down here on the couch and I'll sleep up in the room. 10 days later, he's on his way upstairs. She meets him halfway. She says, where are you going? He says, I was coming upstairs to die. He says, where were you going? She says, I was coming down to kill you. Might be old, but we're not dead, right? Oh, listen. Are you ready? 22 cents for a stamp. Do you remember when it was 3 cents for a stamp? 3 cents. It's still 3 cents. The other 19 is for storage. You know how to, listen, do you know how to send letters? It doesn't cost you a dime. What you do is, you know where you put the return address up in the upper left-hand corner? Put who you're going to send it to up in the left-hand corner. And don't put a stamp on it. I saved $400 last year. My case comes up Thursday. I have a barber. I have to go and have my hair cut every second Thursday or the guy won't take me. As you can tell, I missed. A little guy came in one day and he said, how many people are ahead of me? He says, well, I've checked this fella and another one. He said, the guy said, I haven't got time. He says, I'll see you tomorrow. Came in the next day, he said, how many's ahead of me? Guy said, well, there's 4 now. He said, but the guy said, I'll be in tomorrow. Came in the next day, he said, how many's ahead of me? Guy said, well, it's Saturday, there's 6 ahead of you. He said, well, I'll be in Monday. And he said to the shoeshine boy, go and find out where that bum is going. It's so important that he can't get his hair cut. So the kid followed him, came back in about half an hour. The barber said, did you follow him? He said, yep. He said, where'd he go? He said, your house. Isn't that I want to tell you something. You know, things with the airlines are very bad. They're all closing. I came back from New York last Thursday on a 747. 10 stewardesses, 4 stewards, a guy playing the little piano upstairs. one passenger. Now you think that's bad. Now the bad part is they lost my luggage. Lady Godiva was riding down the street. Oh, forget it. Isn't that all? Today, you know, there are a lot of construction is going on today. I said to a fellow, "What are you doing here?" He says, "We're putting up a new building." Did you ever see anybody put up an old one? Alan, stand by, kid. I might need you. You remember the old picture used to make the train robbery and all that stuff? This fella got on a train. He says, "All right, folks." He says, "Stick 'em up. My name's Jesse James. I'm going to rob all the men, all the women, and rape all the men." Guy stood up and said, "Mr. James," he said, "you have that the wrong way round." Another fellow says, "Oh, shut up and sit down. Jesse knows what he's doing." No. You know, everybody tells me bathroom jokes. And just picture this. Now put yourself in this position. In the airport, the men's room, side by side, there's a knock on the door. "Do you have any paper over there?" Guy says, "No, I don't." Oh, boy. So, "Are you reading a newspaper?" "No." Do you have a letter from home or anything?" "No." "Do you roll your own?" "No." "Got 2 5s for a 10? Isn't that funny? About 25, 30 years ago, I took my wife to the movie. She was my girl then, and we waited for a long time. It was in the rain outside of Radio City Music Hall. Well, if you stand in the rain for a long time, and you know, well, I went inside and I said to the usher, "Where is the men's room?" He said, "Oh, very sorry. Just go to the back of the theater, sir, down 2 flights of stairs. Second door, you're right, you can't miss it." I said, "Thank you very much." Went downstairs. I couldn't find it. Came back up. I said, "Where is it?" He said, "Oh, I forgot that." He said, "You go to the left, down 2 flights of stairs, second door on the left, you can't miss it." I went down. I couldn't find it. I looked up. There's a whole bunch of scenery standing up. Behind it. I felt better. I came back and I said to my girl who was sitting in the theater, I said, "Oh," I said, "I see the show has started. How was the first act?" She said, "You should know, you were in it." This is a very distinct pleasure for me. I'd like to, at this time, leave you with a very happy thought. Quite a few happy ones. Regardless of whether you're rich or poor, it's always better to have money. Or, no matter how bad things get, Charmin is always behind you. I'll be back in a minute. And now your chairman, Karen Storr. Karen.
Well, as a few of you know, I didn't prepare a speech. I stayed up all night, though, I was trying to think of what I was going to say. But I think some very nice things were said about how we all feel about tonight and the people we're honoring, and the fact how much we all appreciate the wonderful industry that they created and took care of for us. And I just hope that it's in all of us that are still working, and maybe the new ones that come along, to keep it going and preserve it, protect it, and we're all trying our best to do that. And I guess we just all really love all of you that did this for us. We're going to have our, we'll have the pro take over.
Thank you.
There's a great treat in store for you. I've seen this man work before. He is absolutely fantastic. I'd like to fill you in on some of the background, but I won't. I'm just going to let him amaze you first, then I'll tell you all about him. His name, Nick Lewin.
Well, thank you. So I said, I've moved out to California. Mostly I'm in love with your climate. I think you have the greatest climate in the world right here in Southern California. I really mean it. The greatest 4 seasons, spring, summer, fire and flood. Plus the occasional earthquake to keep your house sliding down the hill into a more expensive neighborhood. It's not like that back in England. It's very cold, the weather back in England. It's so cold if your girlfriend decides to break off the relationship, she can do it physically, which is never comforting. But looking around the room, this looks like a very wealthy group. I can tell that. Is there a gentleman in the room who would care to loan me a $1,000 bill? Now don't all rush. I'll get 100, 20, 10, 5. Food stamps. Okay, a $1 bill. How about a gentleman with a $1 bill? Is there a gentleman with a $1 bill somewhere over here who would... Somebody over here. Do you have a $1 bill I could borrow for a moment, sir? Come on, give to the couple. You have one here. Fantastic. Give him a nice round of applause. Come and join me for just 1 second. Stand right to there if you... Wait a minute. I also read palms. Wait a minute. I see pain, misfortune, unhappiness, disappointment, torment. But don't worry, you have a very long lifeline. But listen, did you have any idea that you were going to be loaning me money tonight?
No idea whatsoever.
Otherwise, you'd have sat at the back of the room. Oh, you did. On the other hand, would you accept today's star prize? I have it right here. Would you mind telling everyone in the room your full name?
Mark Kausler.
I'll tell you why that's important, name vital. There's one thing written on this parcel. You had no idea you were loaning me money, but would you read exactly what's written on there?
My name.
It could be thought projection, it could be mind reading, actually it's cheating, but... What can I say? I know Doug Henning wouldn't stoop this low, but he's shorter than I am. Wait a second, Monty Hallwood, you're right. Wait a minute though, there's something inside here. Would you reach in and pull out today's star prize? There it is, ladies and gentlemen. A genuine pre-Iacocca prize look. Now, what? An excellent. Do you have a penknife with you by any chance? Never mind, I do. A little souvenir from New York. I shouldn't joke. Anybody here from New York? No, well, let's talk freely then. What the hell? Oh, you're from New York? I apologize. That wasn't an insult or a put down. I'll do my best to make you feel at home. By the way, if you can pull this knife from this lemon, you're the rightful King of England. Don't go for it. That's how we got Margaret. Margaret Thatcher, quite a lady. I love those outfits she wears, those hats, and Queen Elizabeth. I don't know, they dress very strangely, and sometimes they look like something out of a Benny Hill sketch. Mind you, I shouldn't joke about Queen Elizabeth. Now England's got Boy George. We have 2 queens with no idea of how to dress, so we... I'm going to cut this lemon in half, just... Good heavens, it smells of furniture polish. I'm gonna cut this in half and break into it. You're gonna... 3 to the right. 2 to the left. Oh. 1 more to the right. I've never broken into one before, but this one was worth it because right there in the very center. Well, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, my great speed of magic. Fruit to candy, lemon, drop. Lemon, drop. Oh, sorry about the lemon on the sneakers. God, he's wearing sneakers. Because, wait a second, there's a little something here. There is the $1 bill, but with one little piece missing. Surely that isn't the piece you have in your hand. If it is, the room will probably collapse with applause. Look at that here, exactly 160 minutes down. Thank you very much indeed. Give him a nice round of applause. Thank you. One last little bit of magic here. Maybe have a drum roll if you would, sir. This is it. The trick that made me world famous. A little more drum roll. The mystery of the Kmart handkerchief. Watch closely. A 1, 2, 3. Up! Up! Come on, get up, please! Get up, come on! Whoop! Thank you very much indeed. I'll see you later.